As we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including a wrestler involved in a real altercation, terrible news for Liv Morgan, Kairi Sane heartbroken over injury, is TKO really selling WWE? Is a shocking WWE return on the horizon? Vince McMahon is coming back to wrestling, and much more. Our first story looks at a wrestler involved in an altercation. Now, our top story today takes a look at reports relating to an altercation between MJF and a fan following AEW Grand Slam last night. During AEW Grand Slam, MJF would rip Mystico's mask off and proceed to wear it in the ultimate act of disrespect. One fan was deeply offended by MJF's actions, and according to Fightful Select, one fan legitimately went after MJF in the hotel after the show. It's still real to some. MJF got a good amount of heat from his angle at AEW Grand Slam Mexico. Sources in AEW claim that the fan went after MJF at the hotel after the show. MJF was said to be okay and laughed the situation off and was proud of it. We broke the news on our AEW Dynamite post-show. We've not heard of any other incidents, but AEW is very happy with how the show turned out. Wrestlers being confronted like this in the modern era is virtually unprecedented. It'll be interesting to see if AEW release any official statement on the incident or even work it into an angle. Next up, terrible news for Liv Morgan. Now, unfortunately, Liv Morgan's injury will require surgery. According to PW Insider, this is the worst case scenario, and this will mean that Morgan will miss a substantial amount of time away from WWE programming. Liv Morgan's separated shoulder will require surgery, PWInsider.com has learned from multiple WWE sources. This is pretty much the worst case scenario from the freak injury this past Monday, as it means she will be out a lengthy amount of time. Morgan was slated to appear at Fanatics Fest this weekend in New York City. Body Slam is also reporting something similar, with them adding that Morgan could be out of action for around 6 months. It's already been reported that WWE have been forced to rip up the planned Evolution card, and if Morgan is indeed on the shelf for 6 months, WWE are going to need to deliver a significant reset of the women's division, particularly on the Raw brand. Naturally, due to the 6-month span, fans on social media are already fantasy booking the idea of Morgan returning at the Royal Rumble, and if this is indeed on WWE's agenda, then she is without a doubt going to be a firm favourite to win the match. But what was really supposed to happen on Raw? Well, now we know more information related to a Raw segment that was cancelled due to Liv Morgan's injury. According to the Wrestling Observer Radio, the original plans were to see Nikki Bella deliver a run-in during the Morgan vs Kairi Sane matchup. Nikki Bella was there and she was going to do a run-in in the Liv Morgan-Kairi Sane match to help set up, this next part of the angle. But they decided for whatever reason, I guess because everything was a panic at that point, and they probably didn't, put her out on a promo because it's like, well, if she's okay, which what do you say? So that's why she was not on the show. Even though she'd been advertised all week, she was there. Due to Morgan's injury, the planned feud between Morgan and Bella has been immediately scrapped. It was rumored that Brie Bella would return to team with Nikki, but now with Morgan being out of the picture, it's unclear what the creative plans are moving forward. Fans are now questioning what WWE's plans are for the women's tag titles, as Morgan will be forced to surrender the titles on behalf of the Judgment Day, but it's entirely possible that Roxanne Perez takes her place in the faction and becomes tag team champion by default. Do you think this would be a good plan, or should the WWE just vacate the titles and have, well, you know what Triple H loves, tournaments? Next up, Kairi Sane heartbroken over injury. Due to a portion of fans directing a ton of hate towards Kairi Sane for Liv Morgan's injury, Sane has been forced to take to X to issue an official statement. In the statement, she states that the injury to Morgan breaks her heart. One of the most painful things for me is when a match is decided not by wrestling, but because of an injury. I always step into the ring with the deepest respect for my opponent, and I train hard every day to give the audience something they can truly enjoy. Even if it was never intentional, knowing that someone was hurt in a match with me is something I care deeply. It breaks my heart. I hope with all my heart for a full and speedy recovery. I will continue to give my all, hoping to bring excitement, not pain, to the ring. Now hopefully this puts an end to all the hate that is being directed towards Sane. The injury to Morgan evidently wasn't her fault, and the fans need to remember that this is pro wrestling and freak accidents like this occur all the time. And more often than not, it's not either wrestler's fault, it's just the nature of the profession. Next up, Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch make amends. Now, the relationship between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch has been a complex story. Now, one time the two former best friends weren't on speaking terms. Now, thankfully, that looks to have changed, as according to Flair during a podcast appearance on Games with Names, the two are now on good terms with each other, and Flair would love to work with Lynch again in some capacity. We're cordial. No, we're good. I still think there's some story left there, so I don't think that there's a nail in the coffin yet. The two women have had one of the most celebrated women's feuds of all time back in 2018, and whilst they're both active and full-time on the main roster, there hasn't been a better opportunity to deliver a follow-up to the iconic rivalry. Next up is a shocking WWE return on the horizon. Now, we've learned to say never when it comes to potential pro wrestling returns, and if the latest report from Fightful Select is anything to go by, then Gail Kim will be returning to WWE in some capacity. According to Fightful's report, Kim was backstage at NXT TV this week. A very interesting name was around NXT this week. Fightful Select has learned that wrestling legend Gail Kim was backstage at this week's NXT. We're told that this also isn't the first time she's been there of late. When we asked if she's officially with the company, WWE sources said that she isn't as of this moment. Gail Kim was fired by TNA Wrestling earlier this year, and it was expected to have immediate interest from companies and had people pushing for her in both AEW and WWE. We've heard that WWE has been interested in bringing her on board since she became available. The company has kept her presence at shows very quiet. Kim's personal issues with WWE from her two previous runs are well documented, and Kim previously ruled out a WWE return. However, a lot of the names that Kim had an issue with during her prior runs are no longer running WWE, so it will be interesting to see if this will influence her to sign with the company. Kim is considered by many to be one of the greatest female stars of all time, and her work in a backstage role for TNA in recent years has received unanimous praise. There's been a push from fans and fellow wrestlers to see more female representation in backstage roles, and Kim would certainly fit the bill. Next up, the real reason WWE changed a theme song. WWE fans weren't pleased with the company's call to change Jordynne Grace's theme on NXT this week. In typical Def Rebel fashion, the new theme song is truly horrible, and according to Fightful Select, due to Grace owning the rights to her prior song, WWE wanted to change it and own the rights to her theme. The theme music that Jordynne used in TNA in her early NXT run actually belongs to her, and she retains the rights to. However, that among other things led to change. We're told that especially in recent months, WWE's been adamant again about owning theme songs that are used. Beyond that, a change was necessitated within due to the sirens at the start of it. With Bron Breakker's theme already having sirens, and the natural family connection to Scott Steiner, that was given the priority. Now, even Grace herself would address the backlash via X, and she would urge fans just to try vibe with the song, which of course drew even more attention to how atrocious the new theme song actually is. Additionally, Fightful would also comment on the possibility of mainstream acts such as Metro Boomin producing WWE themes, and they stated that WWE's insistence on owning the tracks is a major hurdle. Metro Boomin has offered to do themes for WWE, as have some other mainstream acts, but has been more picky on owning the tracks in many cases. Unfortunately, there are no signs whatsoever that WWE have any interest in ditching Def Rebel, and it appears that producing strong, meaningful theme songs is the last thing on WWE's agenda in 2025. Next up, Bryan Danielson returns. Now, it looks like Bryan Danielson may have changed his mind when it comes to his retirement. Last night, AEW taped Ring of Honor Global Wars, and Danielson made the save for Blue Panther. Danielson would even get physical during his appearance as he hit a trademark running knee. Now, it's unknown if this means that he has agreed to more matches, or this is just a one-time only appearance. Next up, is TKO really selling WWE? There's been rampant speculation in recent weeks that TKO could be looking to sell WWE. These rumors were even referenced in a recent Yahoo article, but at this stage, there doesn't seem to be any validity to the rumors. According to the Wrestling Observer Radio, TKO aren't looking to sell WWE, and they've even started to operate both UFC and WWE from the same office. The stories of him, Vince McMahon, somehow buying WWE, and I even saw a line in a story about how TKO is looking to sell WWE, and it's like, aside from that being denied all day, TKO has just saved between $100 million and $150 million by essentially removing so many jobs and things like that, because they could operate UFC and WWE with the same office staff. This could certainly put an end to the rumors of Vince McMahon potentially buying back the company, but it seems that Vince McMahon is still looking to be in wrestling in some capacity. Vince McMahon seems to have been forever removed from WWE since resigning in January 2024. Whilst there's still an ongoing lawsuit between himself and Janelle Grant, Vince still wants to be involved in sports entertainment in some capacity. Recently, Vince McMahon tried to purchase Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, and this was also confirmed by the president David Feldman. He's a great guy, his whole team is great, but the timing wasn't right for us. He's Vince McMahon. If I were him, I'd want creative control too. He was awesome, very complimentary, and he was very serious to do business. However, the deal fell through. But it seems that many still believe that Vince McMahon will be involved in wrestling again sooner rather than later. On Justin Barrassa's Undisputed podcast, Barrassa mentioned speaking with several executives in combat sports and pro wrestling, the belief is that McMahon will ultimately find himself involved again in professional wrestling. Vince's new company, 14th and I, is being heavily involved with sports, media, and entertainment. However, could Vince McMahon once again see himself in the pro wrestling business? Would you want Vince McMahon coming back into wrestling? And finally, prayers for Will Ospreay. Our final story today shares some sad personal news related to Will Ospreay. Unfortunately, Ospreay revealed via X that his granddad had passed away, and he found out just as he landed in Mexico for AEW Grand Slam. Personal note, I landed in Mexico this morning at 3 AM. Once landed, I had a phone call from my mum telling me my granddad had passed this morning. Extremely close to my granddad, he was a bloody hero to me. Your love and support eased my pain. Thank you so much. Ospreay still managed to compete on AEW TV last night, which must have been extremely difficult. We're offering our condolences to Ospreay and his family during this difficult time.